welcome back to SnowRunner, y'all, and this is very large. Now, you can see from the interior view that we are a bit high off the ground. We also have a tremendous roll cage, and if we look back behind us, we have not one, but two additional sets of doors. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, show me the truck already. And, you know, that's exactly what we're gonna do. And the truck itself is this. Now, this is only one of the configurations of this Dodge W200 that you'll be able to use in this particular mod pack, which, of course, you can find more information about in the description box down below. Now, this thing, for all intents and purposes, is ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous configuration you can have this truck in. But real quick, I want to show y'all some of the details before we go into the garage. Look at the dual shock setup, and then, or not even dual normal shock, dual coilover setup, but look at this. You can even see the adjustment collars. You can see the Fox logos on the top of the coilovers. You can look at the mounting points and see all the bolts for everything. It is absolutely monstrously detailed. And now we get to take it into the garage, walk through some of the upgrades, and then go take it for a drive, which that is going to be absolutely wild, because I haven't even really driven this thing yet, but I can pretty much guarantee you that it's going to be a wild experience. Now, I will say, there is also a rear steer version of this truck, although I am not using it for this particular test. So, engine-wise, we've got stock, performance, tow package, and upgraded. Gearbox, stock, highway, and off-road. We're going to actually start with the off-road and then switch over to the highway a little bit later when we go to do the bridge jump. And then suspension-wise, we got stock, lift, and no damage. We're going to actually start with the lift, I think, because we've got the biggest tires on it. We might as well go for the highest suspension option. You got two options for tires, 71-inch TSL boggers and 87-inch TSL boggers. I wonder how many feet that is. Someone do the conversion in the comments below. Now, winch-wise, we've got a single winch option, which, knowing the mod creator, it's probably a very capable winch option, and they probably figured it just didn't need any other, you know, selections for winches. Bed-wise, you have one option, but you can take it off if you so choose. Front bumper-wise, you've got the brush guard, which can be removed, as well as the stock bumper, which can also be removed if you so desire, but I'm going to go ahead and put them both back on. Bed add-ons, you got a huge amount of these. You got the Armadillo chase rack, you got a Overland-style bed rack, you got another low-mounted Overland style bed rack, and a skinny Overland style bed rack. You also got bed stuff, classic style roll bar, and the toolbox, although I think I'm going to switch out the classic style roll bar for the Armadillo chase rack. Now, doors wise, you can actually have them on or off. If you want to go full, I guess, Jeep mode on this thing, you can take the doors off and absolutely just have at it, which I'm debating on whether or not I want to do, because it does look absolutely insane with no doors. I'm thinking about it, but I think I'm going to do it in a future episode. Now, bumpers-wise, again, stock rear, that's about all you get in the back. Roof-wise, if you want to do the Sawzall roof delete, you can. You could be like, RIP my roof. I don't need it anymore. And if that's the case for you, then, again, have at it. Now, wheels-wise, you got a pretty good selection. These are selections that I'm sure you will be familiar with if you have seen mods by this creator before, and we're actually going to go with the specialties. I was on the forces before, and I was like, you know what? I think we're going to swap over to the specialties on this one. Now, color options-wise, you got a full spectrum of color choices. However, what we're going to do on this truck is we're actually going to stick with the one that it comes with, because it's very rusted and weathered and looks really, really good once you get it outside in the natural light. And of course, we got beans on the dash. So now, let's go ahead and put this suspension into high mode and take it for its first drive. This is gonna be quite the experience of a first drive, I've gotta say. Now, let's see. I'm thinking that it's probably gonna go through everything out here on the testing grounds like it's nothing, but I still am curious to see how easily it gets through just about everything. Now, I love the fact that it's got gigantic boggers on it. I think really the only thing I would add to it would maybe be, like, if I was even gonna add anything, I would maybe add the option for monster tires, but that's not even really necessary considering how massive the truck is and how massive the boggers are. It would be more of an aesthetic choice at that point. Now, the hill climb test, I'm sure it'll just cruise it, but let's do it anyway just to see how, like, how easily it gets it done. Oh, don't put it in high for that. So yeah, when I said it would just cruise it, it does. And now we're just gonna roll it right back down and make our way on down to the mud. And we almost flipped it over there, but we stopped it in time. And so I'm actually really glad we stopped it in time because I really didn't want to deal with a rollover. All right, let's head on into the mud pit. Now this is gonna be obviously the shallower stuff. I don't really think it's going to have all that much issue in here, although it is slowing down a little. We are still in high. It's not... Oh, there it goes. It's actually sputtering out. Let's start dropping into the deeper stuff. We're in automatic mode at the moment. It's actually really smooth. That's definitely something that I'm noticing right off the bat, and I'm sure that with the rear steer, if you were driving that variation of this truck, you would have even more maneuverability, and it would be even easier to drive in tighter environments, although... For high-speed stability, I tend to go with the non-rear steer versions of trucks like this. God, it makes its way through the pond, again, like it's nothing. That pond barely even existed to this thing. Now, let's put it in low plus and see what it does in some properly gnarly mud. And honestly, a lot of trucks will get slowed down by this mud pit in particular. Even if they do have insanely tall tires, this one... It's really not all that big a deal. The only thing you got to be careful of is your wheel speed, but as long as you're careful of your wheel speed, you're literally going to be a-okay. I mean, we went right over that truck frame like it was no big deal. We're going through the mud still like it's no big deal, and we're going over the fallen trees like it's no big deal. So, really, at the end of the day, this thing, it's just chilling. Like, you can drive it through just about whatever you want, and it's like, okay, I guess. Like, I'm not sure why you thought that would be a challenge for me, but okay. The biggest thing that I'm noticing with this truck is it does struggle a little bit to stay in high, but that's not really an issue. I mean, you gotta remember how massively heavy these tires would be in real life, and also how massively heavy the axles would be, too. Now, let's ease you on through this one. Okay, so the lift on the high setting is definitely a little stiffer, because as you can see, flex on this setup isn't really much of a thing, but I'm sure that if you went for some of the other setup options on the suspension, you'd get a little bit more flex, but this variation of the truck is not about flex. It's not about flex whatsoever. It's about being enormous. Now, the dips obstacle is going to be literally a cruise. Like, look at this. We're just going to, like, pop it in low plus and be like, off you go, I guess. You know, I mean, you could put it in low if you wanted it to be a little bit less bouncy, a little bit less bumpy. But even then, it's not really gonna be all that big of a deal. It's just gonna cruise on through and do its thing as it would anyway. It's like it's just driving over small little ruts in the terrain. It's not even that much of a challenge for it. Now, it's a little bit of a challenge because obviously you don't want to get high-centered on the middle of the frame, but the tires are so tall that it would take a very unique set of obstacles to get this thing high-centered in the middle of the frame. Now, let's bring our mobile garage back up and swap over to the high-range gearbox. We're already on the top engine. We'll refresh everything, and now we've got 7 speeds in automatic mode, so once we get to the bridge jump, that is going to be our, essentially, that's going to be our trick for going full send in this thing. And when I say it will full send, it absolutely, it better full send. Just going to ease it up and around this corner, and it's, whoa, okay, it's going to go into massive terminal understeer and almost slide off the road. I wonder what the gear threshold to go from, like, which gear to high. Probably 4th. Oh, no, it's sputtering out up the hill. Okay. You either want to be on flat or going downhill if you put this thing in high. All right, speaking of, there's high range. So now we're in 6th. And, oh, my God. This thing needs a bigger landing zone. The bridge jump is not really, it can't accommodate this thing. Like, not that it's anything wrong with this or the map, it's just like one cannot accommodate the other, and that happens sometimes when you have a truck that's this gnarly. Oh, that's not where I wanted you to end up. Oh, grand. Okay. That's like the worst possible place, honestly, that it could have ended up. Out of all the different options that it had, that's probably the worst one. However, if y'all enjoyed this video and you would like to see more like this one, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see y'all next time.